We got the thumbs up.
Okay, cool.
Good.
All right, thank you. All right, I'd like to call to order the Tiffin City Council meeting of Monday, April 21st, 2025. The invocation and pledge of allegiance will be led by Councilmember Jones.
Please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, as we gather tonight, guide our words and thoughts to be kind and helpful. May we listen with open hearts and seek your wisdom. Amen.
Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Reesner.
Here.
Councilmember Snee.
Present.
Councilmember Thacker. Councilmember Doherty.
Here.
Councilmember Hayes.
Here.
And Councilmember Herniman.
Here.
Okay, let the record show 6 of our 7 council members are present this evening. Minutes from April 7th, 2025, regular and committee of the whole meetings were distributed. Are there any questions, deletions, corrections on those? All right, those will stand approved as presented. We are under committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. A Finance Committee meeting was held Thursday, April 10th, 2025 in Council Chambers. The purpose was to discuss Mayor's request for legislation 25-26 and any other business that may become before them. Attending were committee members Kevin Reesner, Aaron Jones, and Kyle Doherty. Also attending were Mayor Lee Wilkinson, Councilmember Cheyenne Thacker, and Finance Director Kathleen Kaufman. Reesner called the meeting to order at 5:15 p.m. The mayor requested that legislation be prepared and adopted to appropriate an additional $61,105 into the Public Works Department Capital Equipment Fund for the purchase of a chassis for a 2024 one-ton dump truck. This vehicle will be fitted for use as a salt and plow vehicle, replacing a 10-year-old dump truck with high mileage that has become too small and inefficient for current operations. The new truck will significantly improve our ability for winter weather and maintain city streets effectively. The current funding is designated for vehicle purchase only. Peripherals will be added later. The existing truck is slated for sale to Tiffin City Schools for $30,000 to partially recoup the investment. This recommendation is based on the present opportunity to sell the existing truck in advantageous current market prices. Kaufman noted associated partial draw on the capital budget carryover is deemed acceptable given current revenue performance. This action will result in a projected $140,000 decrease in the capital budget in 2026. Due to the order deadline of May 2nd, expedited approval is requested. Jones motioned the law director to draft legislation for 25-26 with emergency, seconded by Doherty, and the motion carried unanimously. With no further business, the meeting adjourned 5:21 p.m.
Thank you. Any questions on that committee report? All right, we are now under Law and Community Planning. Councilmember Doherty.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. A Law and Community Planning Committee meeting was held on Monday, April 14th, 2025 in council chambers immediately following the Street, Sidewalk, Sewers Committee meeting. The purpose was to discuss Mayor's request for legislations number 25-14, the door boundary update, and number 25-25, Ohio Nature Work Grant Program, and any other business that may become before them. Attending were committee members Kyle Doherty, John Hayes, and Dennis Snee. Also in attendance were council members Aaron Jones, Scott Horniman, Kevin Reesner, Cheyenne Thacker, Mayor Wilkinson, City Administrator Nick Dutrow, and Law Director Zach Fowler. Councilman Doherty called the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. First, Mayor Wilkinson spoke regarding the Ohio Nature Work Grant Program. The nature of this request was to get authorization to sign and submit an application for this grant to construct a pump track at Hedges Boyer Park. The budget that was prepared had already included the cost of the pump track in the budget for the Parks Department for this year. Mayor stated the Parks Department is just trying to reduce the city's costs by applying for grants that apply for this project. Mr. Fowler explained a pump track is basically like a dirt track that is paved with rolling hills and is handicap accessible. It will allow for folks of all ages to use bicycles, rollerblades, wheelchairs, skateboards, etc. on the pump track. Councilman Hayes made motion for the city law director to prepare legislation for 25-25, was seconded by Councilman Doherty, and the motion carried unanimously. Next, Mayor Wilkinson and City Administrator Nick Dutrell explained the expansion of the new businesses to be included in the proposed updated DORA map. These new businesses included the Deli on Frost Parkway, Keebler Shoe Store, the proposed wine bar, and the Eagles. Due to current mapping of the DORA map, Coastal Swing, the East Tower, City Lot 6, Jam Area on Madison Street, and Jam's back parking lot will be included. Mr. Dutrell informed council he had spoken with Calvert administration, and they were in support of the new DORA map. Little Faith Ministries will continue to be excluded. However, the sidewalk in front will allow the use of DORA. Mr. Dutrell informed council TSEP will be giving a DORA 101 to new businesses via Zoom to help educate them on the rules and the laws. It was noted DORA has been approved in Tiffin for the last 5 years. Councilman Snee made a motion for the city law director to prepare legislation for 25-14, was seconded by Councilman Hayes, and the motion carried unanimously. With no further business before city council, the meeting was adjourned at 7:01 p.m.
Thank you. Any questions on that committee report? All right. Materials and Equipment, Councilmember Jones.
No reports, Madam President.
Personnel and Labor Relations, Councilmember Hayes.
No report, Madam President.
Recreation and Public Property, Councilmember Snee.
No report at this time, Madam President.
Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers, anyone from that committee?
Right here, Madam President.
Thank
The Streets, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee meeting was held on April 14th, 2025 at 5:15 in council chambers. Attending were committee members Cheyenne Thacker, Aaron Jones, Scott Horniman, Kevin Reesner, Dennis Snee. Also attending were council members John Hayes and Kyle Dougherty, City Administrator Nick Dutrell, City Engineer Matt Watson, Law Director Zachary Fowler, Tiffin Police Department Lieutenant Jake Damani, and Mayor Lee Wilkinson. Thacker called the meeting to order. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss Mayor's request for legislation 25-22, Water Pollution Control Loan Fund Agreement, 25-23, Easement Agreement for South Sandusky Culvert, and 25-24, accept property and enter into easement agreements with private property owners, North Sandusky Street Project, downtown parking, and any other business that may come before them. Watson gave the committee information on the mayor's request for legislation 25-22 as part of the long-term control plan to separate sewer and stormwater systems. Watson requested the council authorize the mayor to formally apply for, submit, and accept an agreement with the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund for construction of a water waste treatment facilities for inflow reduction, CSO 9 through 13. 15-point repair projects, designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency. Construction will likely begin in the fall, finishing hopefully next summer. Snee asked how long the loan would be. Watson replied it was a 30-year loan. Nick Dutrell reminded the committee that the city increased its sewer rates to 5% last year at the suggestion of consultants Reftitas, and they continued to meet twice a year. Reasoner motion to have the law director prepare legislation. Jones seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Watson gave the committee information about mayor's request for legislation 25-23. This is regarding a culvert upgrade on Sandusky Street. This construction will happen at the same time as the Sandusky Street project to minimize the amount of time State Route 53 will be closed. The project will update the culvert to a box culvert. The project will be bid in fall of 2025 and construction will begin spring 2026. The private property owners asked the city to preserve as many trees as possible, and Watson agreed this was the intention of the city administration. Reasoner motion to have the law director prepare legislation. Snee seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Watson gave the committee information about mayor's request for legislation 25-24. This is regarding an easement on North Willow Court. Currently, the roadway is not within the right-of-way. The private property owners are amenable to provide more area so the road is within the right-of-way. It will help with draining issues on this road. Fowler described the map provided by surveyor Mario Lavoyevich. Reasoner motion to have the law director prepare legislation. Snee seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Watson gave the committee information about the Sandusky Street project. Watson requested council pass legislation for the city administrator to move forward with the bidding process for the project for construction, and also an agreement with a consultant on the project to help manage the various funding sources and inspection. Reasoner motioned to have the law director prepare legislation. Jones seconded the motion. The motion passed 5-0. Thacker informed the committee that she had received several complaints about parking tickets on April 9th, 2025 in the downtown area. Thacker thought it would be best to share the information with the committee that she had received and for council to reevaluate the ordinances related to parking downtown by utilizing the current meeting to gather information and metrics related to this matter. Fowler reminded council that all questions and issues related to enforcement should be presented to city administration, and the committee's focus must be in the context of legislation. Thacker went through questions previously given to the administration related to prior enforcement of parking laws. Lieutenant Damani gave the committee information on types of infractions and locations on the document attached. Thacker asked how many people received tickets on April 9th. Lieutenant Damani said 55 tickets were issued. The administration mentioned that downtown businesses had complained about vehicles violating the rules for the 2-hour parking limits on the street and in parking lots and prohibiting others from coming into their businesses. Currently, there is an ordinance that allows for people to request a 12-hour parking spot in city lot number 7 from the city administrator and pay for this spot. Dutra had never received a request to his knowledge. One had not been requested or granted under a previous city administrator either. Dutro did not think parking passes in Lot 7 would fix the problem and suggested council sunset the program. Watson reminded the committee that construction always plays a part in the parking issues like the construction on Court Street and upcoming utility maintenance by Aqua. With no further business, the committee adjourned at 6:30 p.m.
Any questions on that committee report? All right, Economic Development and Downtown Planning, Councilmember Herniman.
No report, Madam President.
All right, thank you. Does anyone see the need to schedule a committee of the whole meeting? All right, we are under reports of the officers. His Honor, Mayor Lee Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam President. I would first just like to introduce Chief Polly, who has a couple of special awards for his officers in the police department.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I appreciate you allowing me a moment to recognize these officers that we have here tonight. It's important, I think, to highlight the dedication and positive impact our officers make really on a daily basis. They don't often make headlines. They don't often even see the light of day, but what these officers do is just a glimpse of what we see, or I get to see almost on a daily basis with our officers. So to begin with, I'd like to call up Officer Chris Perry. Go ahead and stand right up there, Chris. Okay. On March 20th this year, during a routine welfare check, Officer Chris Perry approached a home to make contact with a family member. As he knocked on the door, he thought he heard a voice not from inside the residence, but from a nearby shed. Following the voice, Officer Perry entered the shed and discovered a man standing on the edge, literally, with a cord around his neck tied to a rafter above. The man was moments away from taking his own life. Officer Perry remained calm, spoke with compassion, and used his training to de-escalate the situation. He persuaded the man to remove the cord and ensured he received immediate medical and mental health care. He also initiated follow-up support services to connect the individual with ongoing mental health help. There's no doubt his presence and quick action saved a life that day. It is my honor to present Officer Chris Perry with the Tiffin Police Department's Life Saving Award. This is Officer Perry's second Life Saving Award. I ask council to join me in recognizing this extraordinary service and unwavering dedication. Congratulations, Chris. I'd also like to call up Officer Cade Garrett, please. All right. Investigative police work is often a game of persistence, observation, and detail. And one recent case demonstrated exactly that. While investigating a complex theft case involving stolen tools and a suspicious vehicle, Officer Cade Garrett displayed an exceptional level of commitment. From the initial report to the final follow-up, he showed thoroughness and initiative at every step. His well-documented report laid the foundation for the case, and his determination to track down the vehicle in question ultimately led to the recovery of stolen property, I think in the amount of between $11,000 and $12,000, and subsequent criminal charges of those responsible. Officer Garrett's investigative tenacity and attention to detail exemplify the high standards of the Tiffin Police Department. His efforts not only broke open the case, but also helped restore a sense of justice to the victim. It is with great pride that I recognize Officer Garrett with this Distinguished Service Award. Please join me in honoring the outstanding performance and dedication to duty. Congrats, Cade.
We'll pause for a moment just to wait for a couple of pictures there in the hallway.
Who's your next
I'm going to
presenter?
go ahead and go on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, since our city administrator, Nick Dutrow, is, I'm sure, very familiar with the workings of NOPEC, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next guests. We have a couple representatives here from NOPEC to give us some information. And part of this is about the NOPEC's organization and how they work with the city. And I believe the rest of the presentation will be about how all of the special energy district will work. So take it away.
Hello, my name is Kyla Presto. I'm a relationship manager with NOPEC, and my role is to support you with any questions you may have. I wanted to come and introduce myself today and also let you know about some of the latest happenings at NOPEC. And so NOPEC, as a reminder, is a gas and electric aggregation. We are a council of governments organized under the Ohio Revised Code, and we have over 240 member communities that gather together under the NOPEC umbrella to harness competitive energy rates for their citizens, in addition to securing different benefits that NOPEC offers to its member communities, such as PACE and STEP loan financing for small businesses. And we also do energy education, working with Ohio youths, and a plethora of things such as also our grant programs. So here in the city of Tiffin, you joined NOPEC in 2014. And since you're joining with NOPEC, you've received NEC grant dollars totaling $288,753 since joining NOPEC. And that NOPEC Energized Community Grant, NEC grant, is used for various projects here and helps to invest back in your community. Also, we have our community event sponsorship awards that you've received. And this year you received $2,000 for your 4th of July celebration. So those are the many benefits, just a highlight of the many benefits that you receive as a NOPEC member community. And also I wanted to let you know that right now the gas anniversary period is occurring. And so eligible residents and small businesses are currently in the process of receiving these letters in the mail. And this is something we're required to do by the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio. Every 2 years, we send these letters for gas, and every 3 years for electric, and this year being the gas anniversary period. And so those who wish to take advantage of the benefits that NOPEC offers, when they receive that letter, if they'd like to take advantage of the standard program, which is the default program option, They do not have to take any action once they receive that letter. If they wish to take advantage of the standard program, they can disregard the letter. However, if they would like to opt out, or if they would like to shop some of the other options that NOPEC offers, such as their 12 or 24-month fixed rate program or our monthly variable rate program, they would need to contact the customer care center for one of those other options. And then if they'd like to opt out, they can do so by returning their opt-out form, or also by going online. There is a code on their opt-out letter that they can go online to do so. So we try to make it nice and easy for folks to take advantage of the program. It's opt-out aggregation, meaning they don't have to take any action to take advantage of the program benefits. Now I'm going to transition over to Aaron.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I'll be brief. I wanted to introduce myself and express some gratitude to not only the Council, but especially your City Administrator and Law Director. My name is Aaron Marcovi. I'm the Director of Community Investment and Economic Development at NOPEC. We work for you. I'm very privileged to be able to oversee our grant program as well as our financing programs for small businesses. A very prominent local business here in Tiffin approached us a little more than a year ago, and that's the Gibson Hotel, the Tiffin Boutique Hotel. And they said, we have financing in place to be able to renovate this and make it a really lovely showpiece down Main Street in Tiffin. But we don't have quite enough financing put together in a capital stack to make it work. Can you help us? And we said, well, Tiffin has not done a PACE deal in the past, so we need to touch all the bases. We need to cover all the steps, which is why you have a book in front of you to be able to cover it. And I'm certainly happy to answer any specific questions, but after talking with them, we were able to put together a really fabulous deal for the capital stack that really kind of made it happen. We were the sort of gap financing, if you will, for that project. So we're very excited about it because that's going to be an important project. It's going to be a beautiful project. I've already talked to the owners, and I'm going to come back out to Tiffin and stay here with my wife. I love Tiffin. Anytime we need to come out here, I always volunteer. So rest assured that we're very excited about it in terms of this project. The other knock-on benefit, and the reason, again, that you have so much literature in front of you, is because, in part, one of the things that this project is it is the tip of the spear to be able to create the Energy Special Improvement District. The state, when PACE financing, property assessed clean energy financing, came to Ohio, they said, you know, there are other states where this has been working okay, not great. We need to have a few more eyeballs on these deals. So they made laws requiring the city to approve. Otherwise, what would be private transactions? You know, people coming in for a mortgage don't need the council's okay. For a small business loan, they don't need the council's okay. Because of the way that it was managed, or in some cases mismanaged in other states, Ohio has become sort of the gold standard when it comes to property assessed clean energy lending. Matter of fact, it's the second only behind California in terms of the amount of money that is under management in Ohio. It's crazy. It's like $24 billion or something across projects. The real differentiator is that most of those projects are, you know, most PACE lenders don't get out of bed for less than $5 or $10 million. You know, these are skyscrapers, stadiums, stuff like that. Because we're a government agency, we don't have to worry about stock price or big executive bonuses or anything like that. And we eat a lot of the fees, and we pass along a lot of these costs in the form of grants and stuff that we get from our supplier, not on the backs of the ratepayers. The PACE program is unique because it enables this business to be able to operate without necessarily having their credit worthiness impacted, because by GAAP standards, it doesn't count as debt. It's a special assessment. So that's very good for them. But then the city benefits because now you have a new economic development tool in your toolkit to entice other investment in not only Tiffin, but I'm very happy to report that it's going to be county-wide. So even though there are, you know, many municipalities in Seneca County that are not NOPEC members, they are still going to be able to benefit from the Energy Special Improvement District that TSEP, now I guess the expanded, and my apologies, I'm not sure if that's going to be the name final or not, but the larger economic development engine is going to be able to take advantage of this. All because of this council's and previous iterations of the council's judgment in going with bringing NOPEC on board and being able to foster the kind of creative economic development to be able to bring these boutique hotels or whatever other manufacturing or apartments or what have you to the fore. So with that, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. I realize that it's a little esoteric. And again, I cannot thank your law director and city manager enough for working through all of the finer points. But we're just very delighted to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much for the information. I appreciate the overview, and it gives me a good overall picture of like what it's all about. So appreciate that.
Yeah. Aaron, we had talked beforehand, but you had said this is basically part of the benefit of being a NOPEC member.
Yes.
That the hotel wouldn't have even been eligible if the city wasn't a member of NOPEC, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
So just, I know Kyla kind of pointed on those things, those other benefits, but this is just one more part of how we benefit from that.
And I do just want to be clear, and I'm sure that in other presentations you probably heard before, where does this money come from? Where does the money from the grants come from? To be clear about that, it is in no way taken off of the rates that the citizens pay. So because we are a council of governments not organized for profit, we don't have to deal with, again, executive big payouts or whatever. So any retained earnings are spent to be able to create the safety net should there be some problem with the supplier down the road. But also more importantly, we go to our supplier and say, well, we're managing the expectations and the customer service for all of these. For lack of a better word, we go to our supplier and have them provide these funds that we can pay directly to the cities. So there's for this particular project, whether it's the PACE loans or the grants or anything like that, the funds come off of the suppliers and not on the ratepayers side.
Oh, very good. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah.
Thank you both for coming to council. This is super informative, so thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, Madam President, continuing my report, I would like to introduce Matt Watson, who's going to give us an update on the road and bridge levy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, for a few moments this evening. In an effort to maintain transparency, I wanted to give a quick annual update on the City of Tiffin's road and bridge levy. As many of you might recall, a formal written annual report was disseminated to the public in January to the local media and to the city's social media pages and website. But like last year, we thought bringing this before council would be another good outlet to get the information out to the public. So just a quick update tonight. The agenda is really short, just giving a background in regards to the road and bridge levy, an update in regards to revenue and expenses, as well as the plan and budget for 2025. So background, the road and bridge levy is a 0.25% restricted income tax that can only be used towards the construction-related expenses for the city's roads, bridges, and roadway culverts. It was initially passed by the voters of the City of Tiffin in May of 2018, then continued by the voters of the City of Tiffin in May of 2022. The current levy expires December 31 of 2028, and the current ballot issue approved by council would provide a continuous term beginning January 1 of 2026. So updating revenue and expenses. 2024, our revenue was just over $1.6 million. As you will see, since 2019, the annual revenue has increased on an annual basis, which is good because we are seeing increased construction-related costs, not only in regards to labor, but material. Thing to note is since 2018, we have leveraged this $8.4 million in additional revenue with $7.7 million in additional state and federal grants for our road and bridge infrastructure. So we are receiving almost $2 worth of road and bridge infrastructure improvements for every additional $1 of local investment. So been very successful program since we initiated it. From the expense side of things, in 2024, our expenses were $1,884,287.95. Those were broken down by project. Annual street paving project was $1,334,023.08. On the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there, you'll see a map showing all the roads that were paved as part of last year's street paving program. That was on 24 different streets throughout the city. So we were never able to pave that amount of streets in any given year prior to the passage of the levy. Last year, we spent just over $26,000 towards the South Sandusky Street Culvert Project, which will be constructed next year. We made our last payment on the Ellis Street River Bridge in the amount of $256,597.16. And to note, we did secure $2.5 million in federal and state funding for that project, which is part of that $7.7 million that I had previously discussed. And we were able to walk away from that project without any long-term debt. So $4.5 million project when it was all said and done, no long-term debt. So another big success of this program. We made our last payment on the East Perry Street reconstruction project, just over $3,000. We had payments for the US 224 urban paving project, which we just opened up bids last week and will begin construction this fall. We had $212,534.69 of expenses towards the North Sandusky Street reconstruction project, which we received the 3 different federal grants from ODOT for $2.7 million project that's going to go to construction next year. And we had $3,688.40 of expenses towards the Willow Court Culvert project. So rolling into 2025 then, after 2024, our carryover balance going into this fiscal year was $566,027.45. With the 2025 budget, City Council budgeted $1.5 million towards street construction for the 2025 pavement repair program, the 2025 Reclamite project, the US 224 urban paving project, and the North Sandusky Street reconstruction project. You'll see on the top right-hand corner of the screen and below that, the map and list of streets that are being paved as part of this year's street paving program. So 27 streets as part of this year's program. But additionally, on top of that, we'll have the US 224 project this year. And with the Court Street Streetscape project, Court Street will be resurfaced as well. So 29 total streets being resurfaced this year, and 8 are already completed as paving started 2 weeks ago. So we've completed 8 roads already in the 2nd ward. So that's great to see. You also budgeted $100,000 for a transfer of funds from the Road and Bridge levy to a loan payment through the Ohio Public Works Commission. So in 2023, we obtained a 0% 5-year OPWC loan for that year's street paving program. The reason behind that was the same time frame as the Ellis Street River Bridge project. So money was a little tighter with those levy funds that particular year, knowing the expenses that we had with the Ellis Street River Bridge and wanting to walk away with that without any long-term debt. So we took on a 0% loan over a 5-year period in the amount of $500,000 to make sure that we were paving enough roads that given year to keep our roads on the 15 to 20-year paving cycle that we're aiming to do. The purpose of that 5-year loan was, at that time, that 5 years would have ensured that that loan would have been paid off prior to the current levy expiring. So we didn't want to take any long-term debt beyond the time period that the voters had approved the levy. And then you also budgeted $400,000 in engineering services for 3 projects to be in federally funded projects. So if the revenue were to be the same in 2025 as in 2024, we're projecting a carryover into 2026 in the amount of roughly $452,000. So that's the update. The residents lent their trust to us as a city. And as the person responsible for managing this additional revenue, I strive to provide 2 things. One's transparency, and 2 is a fiscally responsible and effective plan to our residents. I feel that they deserve that. We've continuously maintained that transparency, I think more so than any other city fund that we have with our continuous annual updates and reports. And I think we've developed the foundation of a long-term fiscally responsible, effective plan for our road and bridge infrastructure. So like I said, we're getting nearly $2 of improvements for every $1 of local investment. Likewise, we've replaced 2 bridges, the Ella Street River Bridge, the Ella Street Canal Bridge, totaling about $5.5 million in investment. We've walked away with that without any long-term debt. So very proud of what we've accomplished and to date, and I look forward to continue to build on that success moving forward. So any questions anybody has, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Director.
Yeah, Matt, you said the wouldn't be able to pave the amount of streets we could without that. When the city didn't have the levy, the road and bridge levy, what was the budgeting like for streets back then?
It was very difficult. So we were getting around $300,000 to $400,000 a year. That was being paid out of the capital improvement fund. So we were competing annually with the police, the fire department, the parks department, city hall, anything that there would be a capital expense associated with. So when this levy initiated, that we did the math, basically an asset management plan. The $300,000 to $400,000 that we were budgeting on an annual basis would have put us on a 40-year paving cycle based on the number of lane miles of roads that we have out there. So asphalt's a 15 to 20-year material, 20 if you're good. So the numbers didn't add up. So we decided to move forward with the levy, and we've been playing catch up. So we've been investing more right now to try to get caught up. Many of the roads that are still out there are well beyond that 20-year lifespan. Some of them are being held back right now due to future sewer work. So you might go around and see that, this road's in worse shape than this one that we just paved. Well, there's probably a plan behind that, whether it's aqua, whether it's a sewer project, things like that. So we're just trying to do everything we can to preserve the public's investment and their trust that they've lent in us.
Matt, part of that preservation, that's this Reclamite project that you're doing.
Yeah, so the Reclamite is an additional treatment that we're going to put on the roadways 2 years after they were paved, in conjunction with Brandon. We'll probably talk about it a little more in his presentation this evening, but they're doing a great job with the crack sealing program. So between those efforts, we're trying to maximize the lifespan that we're getting out of the investment that we're making. And then in the future, the curb ramps, we're required to bring those into compliance at the time that we're paving the roadways. Those should all have been brought into compliance as we go through one paving cycle. And if we can make that lifespan extend beyond that 15 years, we're going to have additional money to be able to then focus our efforts on full depth pavement reconstructions to make sure that, any base failures and rutting that you're seeing in the road, those aren't typical to the surface, that we're fixing those the right way, as well as then focusing on getting the curbs updated as well, because a lot of areas we've done overlay paving for many years and there's no curbs still showing. So didn't want to ask for too much money, but gradually implement a plan that you'll see results for over a long-term period.
Any questions? Thank you, Matt. That's very helpful.
Thank you, Matt, for all your hard work and dedication to the city of Tiffin.
Yeah.
It is appreciated. Okay, and continuing on, lastly, we have an update for the Public Works Department from Public Works Superintendent Brandon Berner.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity, and second of all, I speak really quickly, so I'm calming down right now, but I will speak very fast. I will not be offended if you have a question, raise your hand, throw something at me. I will be just fine with that, because I want to have a discussion. If you want to have a discussion, if you want me to burn through it, if, they're like Councilman Snee, you're just going to fall asleep for it, I totally get that, so that's fine. That's fine. The first thing, we're going to talk about two things for me. One, we're going to talk about the community forests, our urban forest, the trees that are in the public tree lawn, our public trees. Shade Tree Chairman Mike Pinkston's going to join me for that. He said that I could do all the heavy lifting and then he would just be the face of the program. So I'll give you the high points here. First of all, I never knew that I was such a tree nerd until Pinkston got me into it. And I love this part of the job. So I will try to be brief for sure, because it's tough. If you want to talk about it afterwards, let me know. one thing to note here is that we are presenting, this is our opportunity to present and thank the city of Tiffin, its residents, the government here for 44 years as Tree City USA, right? So that's borne on the backs of many people over many years, long before, well, at least me, I don't know about you.
I was here.
Okay, good. So I don't know if you haven't noticed, there's a couple entryways in the town to have these signs up, and they actually have a 43 on there. They will have a 44 after this. But we have earned that designation, as well as our 7th Growth Award. That's our 2nd consecutive Growth Award, and we will continue to do that as far as I'm concerned. Big proud thing. And so thank you. And like I said, that's our award as a community. So congratulations to us. Very much so. The little quick note on Arbor Day. So we got blessed with the opportunity to get ODNR's 75th anniversary tree. They like recently reestablished a nursery, so they gave a bunch of free trees out, 88 to be exact, 1 to each county. We got requested to be that county, so we ended up putting this in Stalter Park. They're installing it. When we planted it originally, it was like a Charlie Brown tree. You'll see later, it put some leaves on later, so that's exciting. This year, Arbor Day, we're going to do 2 events. The first will be this Friday at our stomping grounds at Public Works at 601 Miami. We're going to put up a couple fruit trees around our new sign. In kind of recreate a little bit of our area that was just, grass and gravel, and also generate some interest in the program. Also, May 20th, we have a celebration of the historic sycamore tree on Frost Parkway, so that'll meet next to the gazebo at 5:30. If you're not familiar with that tree, between now and then, I'd recommend taking a walk by and looking at it. It's a pretty impressive tree. Big news from this past year is that we've completed we contracted out an inventory, and we paid for that through grant funds. It was almost $70,000. So it was a relatively expensive endeavor, but we got almost $70,000 in grant money. So it's a 1-for-1. The big deal with that, we had tried initially to do this ourselves, to find some like on the cheap way that we could do this with what we already, and it would have taken, like Matt talked about, a paving program would have taken 40 years. It would have taken us 40 years to figure out all the darn trees. And many of them would have switched out by then. So this was a game changer for us by all means. So you can see this is like a dashboard page from the website. If you're in public, you can go and look at the different trees that are there. For us in the background, we can see what work happens with trees, what's slated for work. All those blue dots are opportunities to plant, and all the green dots are ones that are already there. So you can see we got a lot of things to plant. The other thing we did was we finagled an extra layer out of them. So Davy Resource Group is the people who do it. If you see on the top right, that little before, that's a big paper map that we use to put on like our plan for what tree what species of tree and size of tree goes in what block in what area of town. And that's a way to get us an efficient, scientifically chosen, diversified urban forest that we can grow over the years, right? So I go out and plant 500 trees right now. I can't, we don't have enough money and time and whatever. But if I did that, in about 50 years, we'd have 500 trees to deal with. And who knows if they were the right ones in the right place at the right time, right? So the goal is to build this in a successive manner, in a smart manner, in a well-planned manner over the course of many years so that they can provide that benefit back to us that we're looking for from our urban forest. That's what our planting program has. So most of our 2024 trees went in 2025 just because of the freeze. We got them a little bit later than what we had hoped we would get them, but they're all in the ground now. I can see one right there down beside the Presbyterian church there. So that's exciting. We got them all in. And like I said, you can see a little bit of greenery on that right side. That's the stick in the ground that we put in there from ODNR, but I imagine that's going to grow big and strong. So I did want to mention that, like I said, those are the grant funds that we received last year, and they basically allowed us to continue doing what we should be doing and what we do because we know our urban forest needs it, but then on the backside pay for someone to come in, inventory our system, and have that tool in our toolbox to take the calls, to do the work orders, to keep track of our information, and then be able to leverage more grant funds in the future in a really fast, efficient way. So that's pretty exciting. One other thing that I want to note, because it came up to this organization for this year, was the tree lawn restoration. So we're in the throes of that right now in 2025, but getting rid of some of these gravel areas. We got our machines out there. We've put grass seed down, we've put straw down to help that grow. 4 people in the end were approved, so I think 8 asked for approved. The other ones weren't a good fit, or they were just getting information for it, or whatever the case is. In some cases, people, needed that parking, or it was unlikely that it was not gonna get converted back, so, we're trying to hedge our bets there, but, we're hoping that word of mouth, maybe a little bit of curb appeal helps kind of spread that slowly and build us from the ground up, to establish our roots, if you will, for our tree program and for our boulevards. So with that, I will hand over to Mr. Pinkston for all of his wonderful comments.
Thank you very much. So many people will ask, well, what's the big deal with the trees? I mean, for heaven's sakes, God produced them, and why do we have to work so hard to take care of them? Well, there's the woods, and if you go to the woods, the trees fall down or they stand up or whatever happens, that just naturally happens. Here we're having urban forest, because we call it that because around our trees, there are sidewalks and streets and curbs and cars and exhaust fumes and who knows what else. And there are buildings, and so we have to take a proactive approach so that none of those trees we got fall on anybody or anything. So proactive is what we're about. The commission is really a lifestyle commission. We worry about making sure that the quality of life is better because we take care of the trees. Brandon does all the work. Brandon Public Works, they do all the work. We have the ideas and we have the fortitude. We try to learn best practices. We do that by partnering with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. And at this point, 8 members of the community have been to the Tree Academy and have graduated. 2 others have done part of it, and we have 2 now. I think the mayor and Councilman Snee are in the midst of going to the Tree Academy right now so that they too will know the importance of the trees and how we manage them. The second thing we do is we encourage those best practices, and we do that with the staff and the administration, again, trying to just pass along the information. Here's how we can do it. Here's how it can take less time, energy, and money. And we realized then that we needed to develop a plan. Then we'd have to figure out, the commission tries to support those best practices. And we do that through our volunteer efforts. So the commissioners individually bring ideas to our monthly meetings. We have canvases in neighborhoods to ask folks what they think of trees. Interesting note, on East Perry Street, when we canvassed that neighborhood last year, there were people who asked for more trees. They said it is a thoroughfare between Sandusky Street out to the mall, and people drive too fast. Couldn't we have more trees? Is there some way the city could help slow that down? So it was nice to bring that information back to Brandon.
I was with you that day.
He was.
We're walking in the same place.
And they were very serious about that, too. We also volunteer by assisting by gathering the data and doing the data entry. So we help collect the data. We have one of the commissioners actually goes to the office and has put it into the system. And we've decided that it really needs to be a citywide plan. So this year, we're going to plant some trees potentially near Walmart, near the hospital, because that is part of our city, and we can't forget that. And because we committed to a plan, that's where we're able to get some of the funding to put the plan into fruition. Because we have a plan and we begin to work the plan, more funding will be available to take care of the management of the trees in our town. So that's what we do as it relates to trees. On the other hand, I have to point out, we can't forget that the Tree Commission also takes care of the flowers. All the hanging baskets, all the flower pots, all the flowers around the beds at the city limits and different places, different parks around town. We do that with volunteers and hundreds of volunteer hours. If there's anyone here who would like to volunteer, or if you know someone that thinks it would be just more fun than they could possibly hope to drive the gator and water flowers while they have their Dora cup with them, I wouldn't say they actually do that. But anyhow, if you have anyone who wants to volunteer to help with that effort, it would be terrific. And I don't know anyone who has a door cup.
Okay.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for all of Mike's service. He does a great job keeping all of us in check. We're a different band of people, and so we have a lot of great folks helping us out, and it's nice to have someone to keep us on track. I will say that we are fighting outside of our weight class in many ways, which is, I think, exciting. And that's not just me saying that. Like, we just came back from the Tree City Awards, and we get this word, people asking us, how do you do that? What is this going on? Explain this to me. And again, because we're among other tree people, like, I really get to nerd out with them and enjoy that discussion. But it's cool to see that. It's cool to go to these. You don't think about it when you're sitting here, because I get the call from this guy about who hates this tree, and the guy next door who loves this tree. And that's all we deal with on a day-to-day basis. But we can go to these places and they ask you, how do you do this? Because we haven't figured that out. We're those people getting into that spot as a city. So that's exciting. Again, a couple notes on the arborvitae stuff. I will say, I forgot to mention when we did the tree segments and knowing what type of tree goes where, Susan Carty put all those in for us, and she learned how to use this GIS system and did not feel comfortable with it and did a great job with it for us. Also, I wanted to say a special thanks to Ken Baker. So he's ended his service for the Tree Commission this year, but he was a big inspiration and just kind of came in and invigorated that organization at a time that was really good and connected a lot of people with it. So thanks to him as well. The only final thing about trees that I'll mention a little bit more in the rest of my presentation, but I'll keep it light. Zach has offered to help us with legislation to kind of bring this into the proper age. So our legislation regarding trees is a little bit older. So in the coming time, you'll see some things from us, from the Shade Tree Commission, and from the Public Works to try to improve that, tighten it up a little bit, make it more modern language for the industry. So we're looking forward to that, and we appreciate all of Zach's help in helping us do that and doing it in a reasonable way that's good for everyone in this room. We'll switch gears here, transition over to the rest of the department. Very basic agenda, what we do, what we did last year and what we plan to do. Pretty simple. We did not change any personnel last year. We do have a couple vacancies that we still have not filled, but I have a provision for 2 sewer laborers and an assistant superintendent in the budget this year. So I'm working on those new hires, and that's exciting for us to keep that fresh blood in there, especially as we're looking to a couple retirements. It's one thing when a lot of our work is seasonal. If the right season doesn't happen in the right amount of that season, let's say winter, for instance, and snow plowing, then it's hard to get trained up on that and you lose a lot of experience without that. So really watching our replenishment rate as we look forward to folks who are going to move on to the next chapter of their lives. We do a ton of things. We are, if you really want to check this out, I'll send this to be put out for the masses if you're really interested. But we are just generally like the Swiss Army knife of the city. So if it doesn't really fall under somebody, it comes to us, not to mention the stuff that are already named tasks for us, which is good and bad, right? It has its good and bad moments, and then making sure that we do the things that we need to do along with the things that other people want. It's sometimes a challenge, but it's always a new problem set for us, which is good. A couple statistics from last year. Try to generally overlay the same things from year to year. I'm going to call out the red notes. If you have other questions, let me know. Streets swept there. You see we were up from the previous year, but we are only about half of what we need to do. In my opinion, we want to make a full round twice a year of all our curb streets. We have only made it halfway, and we only made it halfway twice last year because our street sweeper kept breaking. You all have approved the budget for the 2025, which just saw a brand new sweeper at our bay. It actually arrived this morning. Guys are getting trained on it. It's kind of a funny looking thing, but it is an excellent machine. So we're very, very excited to see that go to its rightful status here in 2025. And to our old machine's credit, it held out. Once we got it back from the shop earlier this year, it held out for quite a bit of sweeping. So snow and ice removal was a lot more compared to previous seasons. Good and bad. I mean, that's what we're here for in the winters. But we did miss out on a lot of work. So the previous 2 years, we got a lot of work done in the winters that we did not accomplish over the winter this year. Again, not a bad thing necessarily. It's our job to do the snow and ice, but it's a different flavor this year. And as we approach how we go into the spring and summer, and again, then there's our tree numbers. One thing that I'd like to say is we're striving really hard to get in the next 3 years to take that planted and removed number and flip it the opposite way. I don't do public math. I'm an engineer, but I don't do public math. But I can tell you that 128 removed and 55 planted is not the right ratio, right? We're backwards. And so we're working really hard and we're improving substantially each year. But I see us getting out of that, not this year, and not next year, but the following year. We should be back in the black doing what we're supposed to do because of the hard work we're putting into it. Statistics continued on some of our high points here. Sewers televised. We put our camera in the sewers a lot, but I'll tell you what, we've contracted a lot more, which has led to finding a lot of work that needs to be done, right? So it's this hidden thing, right? You can go outside, you can see the pothole on that street, and you can say, dang it, Brandon, why aren't you filling that pothole, right? Unfortunately, you can't necessarily see that with the sewer. You have to get eyes on it or find some other way to do that. So the amount that's been televised between our efforts and those through some of our named projects has been very eye-opening. It's helping us make those plans that we need to. We did replace a little bit more sewer last year. I'm proud of the guys for the numbers that they put up last year, and saved quite a bit of money and a lot of headaches taking care of that in-house, and they did very, very well with it. Continuing improving at that task. Alleys, I want to say this is the first time. My note up there is in recent memory, this is the first time we've done all the alleys, all of our stone alleys twice a year. But I not because I have a bad memory, but because that's like Tim Parkins, who's the only guy who's been here the longest that I know of. So I asked him, I asked the older guys at the shop, that had not occurred in the past before. So we tried very hard, just like our streets sweeping, we tried very hard to get both spring and fall through all of our alleys that are marked there. So, and we finally achieved that. We're looking to continue to improve this year. Asphalt repairs, our crews continue to do a real good job patching up our stuff, saving money by doing it in-house, and a lot of handwork for the kind of stuff we do. But we had fewer patches because we had a lot more, a lot more in the previous year. We had fixed a lot of things. Believe it or not, we're trending in the right direction. It's just still more to go. Matt mentioned this, and I will say, and I think Zach alluded to it and brought Matt in on that too, to talk about the asphalt rejuvenator. We tried to do those things that will protect the investment for our roads and bridges. Much of that starts before that pavement ever gets put into the plant, and that's happening on Matt's side with making sure there's a plan, knowing where the roads are going, make sure that we've talked to the different utility companies before they go out there and all these things, right? But once it's on the ground, now it's game on, right? The sunlight, the traffic, all these things start fighting it. So we've continued our crack sealing program, and it's continued to be successful. Our rate of application has gone down. That's that little green arrow that you see. Unfortunately, I only have so many years that have good scientific data. So I can't tell you 100% that this is the percentage that I have, made sure that we've reduced the amount of cracks. I can't tell you that. I know that we're trending in the right direction. I know that we're doing good things for that pavement, and we will continue to do that. If you're wondering, we hit years 1, 2, 5, and 9. So years 1 and 2, we get out, make sure that anything we can stop dead in its tracks, we do. Then we come back at years 5 and 9 and catch some more of those cracks. So just because there's a crack doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get sealed this year, but that cycle has seemed to be the best one for us to catch things at the right time before they're too far gone and before we're kind of just walking around with this wand in our hand. It gets the steps in, but it doesn't necessarily help the pavement. So, a couple highlights for equipment and personnel, facilities, things like that. We got a second vector. You guys, that was actually like a 2023 approval that finally came in 2024 because of the backlog. That's been hugely successful. We have been able to clean far more constantly. Because we have 2 machines, plus we have a lot of odds and ends tasks. We work in a lot of a lot of areas where it's tough to put a shovel in or a large excavator in the dirt. And so we get to use both machines to do those things. We have a tracked stump grinder now. Our old one had taken its toll. This is far more effective for us to be able to get in some of those weird areas along the edge of the street, far safer and far more efficient. And I'm pretty excited about this sewer pole camera. It's been really helpful for us to identify things, but it's just it's a selfie stick. Like if you're trying to figure out what that is, a pole camera, right? It is like a really expensive selfie stick. It's very powerful. It's incredible. It gives us measurements. We can see things, make decisions based on that without having to send a guy in there, without having to, fiddle around with the truck and everything like that. But it's not necessarily, we didn't have it before, and it's been so nice to be able just to roll up to something and look down at it without having to take the confined space entry to do that. Speaking of which, while we didn't change any personnel out, we also did get some training. So confined space and trench safety training both occurred last year, along with the sewer plant folks. That was good. It was good training, and it was nice to kind of be with them as a group to work on that. And we also got a new front yard sign. So it's just a street sign that we had built. So it's not that special, except we get to reuse those pillars. We saved those pillars. I caught a lot of flack from the guys because I kept making them move around the yard, because those pillars are actually from the old Welcome to Tiffin signs when we changed out to new signs. We've been sitting around on them. And although they've accused me of being a hoarder for several years, we put them back to good use. And at the end of the day, that sign was very inexpensive, and it dresses up our shop a lot better than what we were before, when people couldn't even figure out what the heck our building was. Couple highlights on streets. On the top left, those are street sweepings, and we gotta remove those. But that's, we generate a lot. There's a lot coming off those curb lines, and we're moving a lot of material for that. The third one on the right on top, that's wedge paving in lots 2 and 5. You see. So we've started a cycle 3 years ago now. Years 1 and 2, we do sealing in the different lots downtown, and then the third year we do a little bit more extensive maintenance program. So last year we found some of those areas where you'd pull your tire in and then you'd be able to step right on the ground because your vehicle was touching, because this is old building foundations and they had sunk over time. So we were able to fill some of that pavement in there and help give us some longevity, so that as we seal it again, it'll be much nicer to drive on. You can see the back end of the tractor there dragging our alleys on the first pass. And I want to note on that bottom right, this working on the bridge deck here on Market Street. We also tried a couple other things in years. We try to stay on the right side of the technology, and we found some good things and some bad. But that's been one very successful thing that's helped us find some tools for our toolkit on the street side. And I would like to just highlight one additional thing. I talked about sweepings, right? Like street sweeping. Okay, when we talk about last year's time. I was on paternity leave, and Paul Klopp from the shop was heading up the shop, and he noticed all of these areas that had not, especially because we hadn't had heavy snows. So many of the plows didn't do their work pushing things off the curb line because we didn't have enough snow. We went through with bucket machines and like skid steer and the sweeper and pulled, like I said, a marathon's worth of lane miles that we covered inch by inch, getting those sides of the streets done. We actually continue to use that idea this year and are doing the same thing, just as it applies to areas where leaves didn't get picked up or grass clippings are profuse or whatever. It's been very successful, and we follow up them with cleaning the catch basins out in those, because that's our worst spot. So I'm sorry, this is probably super boring. Like, yeah, you pick up trash, Brandon. Like, cool. It's exciting to me, so I'm sorry. But a special thanks to Tiffin PD. They help us get stuff, get those cars out of the way when we can. It's not something that we're typically towing or anything like that, but we are at least getting their information from folks, and hopefully we don't have to do the swoop around them, because the more we can get off, the better. For sewer highlights, that top left there, that is not the inside of a creamsicle. That is actually the inside of a manhole. We paid for the last several years. We've been working on putting these in some of our brick manholes, some of our older manholes or concrete manholes that are more susceptible to hydrogen sulfide deterioration. So we're adding another 50 to 75 years of life onto those manholes that are losing that. We're also keeping excess water out of there, so we don't have So, which is a constant effort, especially with our long-term control plan. So we are on a little, then we have other projects, Matt and I both have larger projects that this applies to, but we try to keep a programmatic method going of, as we identify them, we can get 20 or 25 of those manholes each year. Like I said, that was the same sewer that we mentioned installing. I will say one other thing on highlight on this, the bottom middle, we installed some depth sensors in our combined sewer overflow boxes. So now we can see real time, or at least every 15 minutes, what's happening in some of our overflows, which means that when it's raining, my phone dings a lot, right? Because naturally, they overflow. But the nice thing is when it's not raining and my phone dings with something like that, I can tell before, very quickly, okay, something's not right. Something needs to be, we need to go respond to this, avoiding pollution or backups elsewhere. And that will continue. So that's another thing that's continuing on as we grow into that program for us. And here's one other thing I'd like to highlight on our sewers this year. We were working with the engineer's office. Matt's team has been hard at work with a bunch of consultants and a bunch of heavy lifting to try to make our long-term control plan work for us. And it's incredible what Matt is going through and has organized and his attention to detail to do all that. For us, we noticed an opportunity. So one of the consultants had told us that our river crossings, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we have several river crossings. The sewer crosses the river in several points underneath. This is two of them. This is kind of like that map right there would be the Eagles would be on the Tiffin Eagles would be on the right-hand side. So there's a crossing under Rock Creek there at Liberty Street, and there's a crossing under the river there at Liberty Street as well. A CCTV crew for that consultant said, no, this is no good. You're gonna have to get rid of these pipes. They must be broken already. We didn't believe that, but we didn't necessarily have the tools or the ability to check it. So we did quite a bit of research, quite a bit of thinking. Special thanks to Travis Droll from my shop. He spent a lot of time thinking about this one, and the sewer plant for all of their help doing it, and the engineer's office for helping us pick up the pieces once we figured it out. But we successfully did figure it out. And once we did, we actually already had a quote on the books from the consultant about what we would have to do if we did not reuse these. And I want to, it was somewhere between 2 and 3 million. Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's what I had seen from our previous estimates to the updated estimates about what project we want to do. Now, much of that was still in flux at the time, but that's a big win by reusing the pipes that were still in really good condition. So that was a pretty exciting thing to find. Just a couple more highlights on there with stormwater. We do some spill responses, and so does the fire department and the sewer plant are all part of that. But as part of our stormwater management program, the Public Works does our spill responses and a lot of our good housekeeping stuff. We try to protect our waterways in more ways than one. And I would be remiss if I did not mention, I've already talked about the arborists ad nauseum, but here's my electrician's handiwork helping us get the new signals in Elmore Circular and Perry Clinton. Also, we had only 5 last year of these fixtures hit. That one in the middle there is a pedestrian head, like the don't walk. Those get hit relatively regularly, believe it or not. I think Miami Street, of its 4 legs at Miami and Sandusky, we've had 3 hit. So not in the same spot, in different spots. So this is a pretty constant thing for us to deal with. And hats off to Steve and Mason, our electricians, and to Laura at the dispatch office, making sure that we get on that, we get it fixed, we keep people safe, we get them reordered, we take it to insurance to get money back for them. It is not an easy thing with one of these. This is not as simple as like, oh, we'll just go grab one from the yard and throw it in there and everybody's happy. It's a lot of stuff. So I very much appreciate their attention to detail to take those down their path for us. So I've taken far too much time. I want to say, I really want to do the routine things routinely, right? That's easy. It sounds like an easy thing to do, but it can be very difficult when every day there's something new, something shiny, something that needs to be taken care of, someone that needs something or thinks they need something. So we want to do the routine things routinely for the rest of our time here, and that's definitely our goal. So special thanks to kind of all these people you see here. I won't go individually by name, but I will say a special thanks to this group here and the administration. Thank you so much for your support in us. If you ever have a question or need something, send it to Nick first. He's better at answering than I am, but I would be happy to interface if you want to understand how something works. Please don't hesitate to ask. It is exciting to me. And something I enjoy to figuring out. Thanks to our Tiffin residents who keep us supported. I say this every year, but special thanks to those folks who go out of their way to say thank you, just to say thank you. Not thank you, bud, or not thank you, or other word, you. Just thank you. We really appreciate that, and those people are amazing, and they are out there, and we appreciate them. My crew is wonderful. We continue to get better each year. I know that I have a big appetite for getting things done, and so they put up with that quite a bit. And in most cases, we're getting those appetites met. And all definitely thanks to my family, Kendra, and the rest of the team. Hope won the grand prize. So I will tell you this: so your phone, right? Your phone likes to tell you at the end of the year, like, your year in review, right? It's like December, 20th rolls around, and you're seeing all the pictures. Oh, I was at a ball game. I'm with the kids. My work phone does the same thing, and it's mostly sewers or broken, sinkholes, But this one popped up randomly because Hope took a picture of her feet in pajamas. So those are Hope's feet. I think that was way better than the sewer that was the picture before it. And I don't know that I have a whole lot more for you. I wish that we didn't do so much, and it would be a lot easier to cover this faster. But please, if you have any questions, let me know.
Brandon, I do want to say I appreciate all that you guys do. And every time my phone goes off and your name shows up, it's a caller. I'm like, I can't wait to answer this because I'm going to learn something new. Like every time we talk on the phone, it's like I'm learning something new. So thank you.
Councilmember Hayes.
Yep, 2 questions. So is that inventory, the tree inventory and the recommended planting by area of city, is that available, or what level is that available to the public?
Yeah, so the tree segments are not, so all those dots on the map, those are available. There's a public view of those where folks can go and touch that, and they can see that this is the tree that's in front of their home and things like that. So yeah, that is publicly available. I can send that out along with this. I can send that link out. So you can Google it and find it. It's that public. But the segments, the segments and the kind of the background information, the work information, that is by username. So not necessarily publicly available, but City of Tiffin for sure.
So could somebody come to you and say, hey, I want to plant a tree and I live in this part of town, what should I do? What would you recommend? Or do you go that level of granularity? Or
no, so we only look at the right of way. So if you're a homeowner on your property,
right,
then no. We have taken inventory of all the tree lawn.
Sure, yeah.
And looked at is there a curb and sidewalk? How's the soil? Is it compacted or not? And what's a overhead and things like that, and determine what size and what type of tree goes there.
Okay. But if I said what do you think about my backyard? What should I put there? Would you have an idea or not?
I would probably have a bad idea. I mean, I like to nerd out on it, but I'm not the best. I just enjoy it a lot.
Okay.
But so no, we don't typically provide that on the private side. But your kind of your nurseries would do a much better job than we would for those private ones. But to answer your question on the flip side, though, on the public side, we do have about 3 or 4 times a year where someone wants a tree in their front yard, in the tree lawn. And we try to honor those whenever we can. So we know what species it is. The biggest empowerment from that tool is when you get someone who asks if I want a tree in the tree lawn in my front yard. Well, one, is there a spot for it? Or are there utilities or some other obstruction that won't allow that? And 2, what species should it be? And well, I want a tricolor beech. Well, I want this crab apple. We want to set these things so we can manage it well, so it's the right tree for the right spot, and so that we have the proper diversification. And so it makes the conversation a lot easier now. So when people ask, this is what we can plant there and this is why, but it helps us support those instead of having to have a discussion on the granularity of each tree in the right of way.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Reesner.
Amazing collaboration between the departments. It's just amazing. People need to realize the street sweeping helps, like the sewage department. It helps. You guys are also helping with the long-term planning, you're helping with paving, you know, so it's, whatever you guys are doing, keep doing that. I'm real impressed. The second question is the walk, don't walk signs. Is it tractor trailers that are cutting short, knock them down?
Depends.
Just people,
It
or
just depends.
anything countermeasure that can be done to help them?
In areas where we can, we move them back or have some sort of, or try to have some sort of barrier, but in many cases, it's just an accident. It's nothing more. There's not a whole lot you could do without making it, you can't have the walk, don't walk sign like over there, because then it doesn't really apply for the crosswalk. So it's tough. We try very hard to place them in the right spots, and I know Matt can attest to that too. Just try to find the right spot where it applies to all the different design techniques is.
And we try at work, we try to put our heads by like utility poles and different things, like, so that traffic would hit.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Brandon? City Administrator?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple comments. One, Mr. Pinkston mentioned if anyone is interested in being a volunteer with our planters or watering the flowers, they can contact us at City Hall. Amanda in the mayor's office is the one handling the volunteers for that. Or you can also email City of Tiffin at tiffinohio.gov. And I did want to mention that I saw the new street sweeper out this morning, so it was making its rounds. And again, a big thanks to Paul for coming up with that, kind of the way we've changed things. It's, I've gotten a couple of calls now and then of people asking, hey, why are we having no parking today in this area? And I explain, well, we're cleaning the streets, and they immediately say, oh, thank you. And then no questions after that. So, a little change, and I think it's made some big difference with that program.
Yeah. I don't have any questions, but I would echo everyone's comments of appreciation. I love the call out to your family. That's very important that you have that amazing support and that how much you appreciate that. So I love that. So thank you, Brandon, to you and your whole team. Great.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, then that concludes my report.
No other presentations?
No other presentations.
Okay, all right. All right, that takes us to Clerk of Council Ann Forrest.
I'll be short. No report, Madam President.
And Director of Finance Kathy Kaufman is not here. Director of Law Zach Fowler.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Two things. One, just so you're all aware, I think I mentioned this at one of the council committees last week, but working with TSEP, doing just kind of an update on DORA, just it's for those restaurant and bar owners here in the downtown that are in the DORA. But since we're kind of at that 5-year period, we just thought it'd be good just to kind of re-educate on the rules, but also kind of show bar owners the proposed change in the boundaries. So I've got one tomorrow and then one on Friday, May 2nd. Then the other thing, I just don't want to kind of beat a dead horse, so to speak, but just to reiterate on the pace. So just you have 3 things that are related to that. First is the resolution 25-27. And that came because you've got the petition that was submitted by the owner to create the ESID as well as to authorize the levy for the special assessment. So the resolution is just to approve that petition and then that you intend to take those steps that you need to take for help with the ESID as well as the special assessment. Then the other 2 that are then tied in with that is to the 2 ordinances, 25-42. Then that's the ordinance to proceed and move forward on these improvements, because essentially since you're doing the levy, you basically have to authorize that these improvements are being done, even though it's really for the private owner. It's just kind of a statutory requirement. And then the second one, 25-43, is then the actual ordinance to levy the special assessment. if you didn't take a look and see the numbers, the estimated total amount's about $1.7 million. That'll be repaid over a 20-year period, starting in January of next year. So that broken down is about $43,000, basically with each tax bill, so twice a year. Like I said before, that the money, you're creating a fund. I did add in there to create that fund. We'll have to come back at some point and just do another ordinance just to, I'm sure Kathy will want to put a number to that fund, but it's in 2543, Section 6 that we just put in the would be the Tiffin Boutique Hotel Project Special Assessment Fund. But I know Kathy will want to come back. We'll have you add an actual number for the budget. But year to year, that'll be in your annual budget to appropriate those funds. But that's the overall process. Once the real estate taxes are paid, that special assessment will get paid over from the county auditor to the city, and then that will go out to the investor, which in this case is NOPEC. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, because I know we're asking you to do this on one reading and to keep the project moving. But with no questions, that's my.
Sorry.
Going forward, the Tiffin Energy's Special Improvement District is like the important thing for potential new projects. That's where we refer to as the ongoing, correct? Or is it the, go ahead.
Yeah. So that district is almost like, I hate to say nonprofit, but it's a separate entity. Mm-hmm. And then so if anyone within the district, and this would be countywide, if they've got a project, they could get added to that. They still have to get the financing. They still have to jump through those hoops. They just wouldn't have to create the district because that's now in place.
Okay.
Hopefully I got that right, Aaron. Okay.
Any other questions? No, thank you. I don't think you're beating a dead horse. I think those are important call outs, so thank you. All right, is there anything else from you?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to written communications.
We have mayor's request for legislation number 25-27, expand CRA number 5 from the existing boundaries to city limits.
Mayor's request for legislation number 25-27 will be assigned to the Law and Community Planning Committee.
Finance director's request for legislation number F25-10 to amend the 2025 budget ordinance 24-94 to appropriate funds into the city administrator's budget.
Thank you. Finance Director's request for legislation number 25-10 is prepared this evening as ordinance 25-38.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F25-11 to approve an update to the city's fixed asset policy effective January 1st, 2025.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F25-11 is assigned to the Finance Committee.
And we have the NOPEC Tiffin Boutique Hotel petition for creation of Energy Special Improvement District and for special assessments for special energy improvement projects and affidavit.
Yes, this will be held on file in the clerk's office.
And that concludes written communications.
Thank you. We are now under oral communications. Anyone wishing to address council may step to the podium, sign in, and direct their questions to myself. All right, that takes us to motions. Any motion?
Madam President, I think we do have a.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mayor Wilkinson, members of council, thank you for allowing me to address you tonight. My remarks and request is brief but extremely important. My name is Marv King. We live on Arrow Lane here in Tiffin, Ohio. And the purpose of my meeting with you tonight is to ask you to give special consideration to recognize former Mayor Aaron Montz by renaming Court Street Montz Court. During Mayor Mont's time in public office, Tiffin has gone, in my opinion, from a 2 to a 10. The city is a model today for a lot of other small towns. And there are a lot of small towns around us that are struggling. And because of Mayor Montz and his administration, his leadership has propelled Tiffin to what I consider a very high level, high quality community for all of our families. Under Mayor Montz's leadership, he vowed to make a difference in Tiffin, embrace change. He helped implement the 124 downtown plan that needed to revitalize the city. We now have a beautiful landscape, streetscape, and most buildings in downtown are occupied by businesses and/or residents. On the west side, he was instrumental in bringing Rural King to the city. I understand that he badgered Chipotle and some other fast food organizations to locate here. Now, other merchants such as Buffalo Wild Wings, Hobby Lobby, Dunkin', Ollie's, have all seen what's happening in Tiffin and are confident that their businesses can survive and be very successful here. I don't know Aaron Montz very well at all. He doesn't know that I'm speaking about him tonight. But I was sitting in Florida and I got to reading some articles about him. And I read the Seneca Daily News, which detailed a lot of the accomplishments that he made during his administration. And I've lived in Seneca County for almost 80 years. And I'm amazed at what's happened to the city of Tiffin. So therefore, I'm asking the city to recognize Mayor Montz by renaming Court Street to Montz Court. And this would be a good time to do that since Court Street is currently gone under major renovation. And it's close to the downtown where he and his administration was instrumental in bringing it to what it is today. And I'm proud to be a resident of Tiffin. And I just ask for the city to give that consideration. Most of you probably know more about his accomplishments than I do. I recognize good leadership when I see it. And I believe we owe him some significant recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming to council this evening, and it's very admirable that your comments about him without knowing him well. And also thank you for being such a longtime Tiffin resident. I agree with you. I have not been here nearly as long, but there has been an extreme positive change in Tiffin, even in my short time here. So I would agree that Aaron had a lot to do with that. So thank you for your commentary.
If you want a copy of what I said, I can leave it. Otherwise, I guess I would ask someone in council or the mayor to, if you decide to do this, to appoint someone or some committee to put together that program to recognize him, if you choose to do that.
Sure. Yeah. I would love if we could have a copy of your commentary if you have an extra one that you can share, and that'd be great. Thank you.
I don't know if I have enough copies.
That's okay. Just one is fine. We can do the work on our end.
Okay. And thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yeah. Director.
Hey, Marv, before you, your last name again?
King, K-I-N-G.
Mr. King, I just want to bring to your attention, Court Street has an honorary designation already. We gave it to 2 female attorneys, the first 2 female attorneys in Ohio Nettie Cronice Lutz, and Florence Cronice. So it already has a designation of NNF Cronice Way.
Thank you.
Would there be maybe an alternate location that you would suggest to council since we've already done something on Court Street?
I would suggest you decide that.
Okay.
And whether or not whether or not the name is Mont's Court, if that makes a difference, I don't know. But I suggest that I would leave it up to you to decide what that recognition might look like.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for that combo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's, yes, I'm sorry.
Madam President, I'd like to suggest that where Aaron Mods gave the most benefits, where he planted the most seeds. I mean, he's helped spring this into action, the benefits. But I like to, as far as a street, pick a street where he might have been, because during the presentation, he's going to have remembrance of all the things he did. So I think we should pick a street where he did most work.
Sure. Yeah.
Suggestion on that.
I think it's definitely something we can consider. I think it's something probably we want to take away this evening and maybe discuss in our next council meeting once we have full council here as well. Might be something that we assign a committee to. So I think we just want to chat through that and figure out what makes the most sense. But I appreciate your input. Does anyone else have any? Kevin, did you have something as well? I thought I saw your hand raised. Does anyone else have anything before I mistakenly move on again? Okay, awesome, thank you. We are now under motions. Are there any motions this evening? Okay, we are now under resolutions and ordinances.
Resolution number 2025-25, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker. A resolution authorizing the mayor to apply for, accept, and enter into a Water Pollution Control Loan Fund, WPCLF agreement on behalf of the city of Tiffin for construction of the wastewater facilities involving the inflow reduction CSO 9-13 and 15 point repair project, designating a dedicated repayment source for the loan and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of Resolution 25-25.
Resolution number 2025-26, introduced by Kyle Dougherty, a resolution authorizing the mayor to prepare and submit an application to participate in the state of Ohio's Nature Works Grant Program and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of Resolution 25-26.
Resolution number 2025-27, introduced by Kevin Reesner, a resolution approving a petition for creation of an energy special improvement district and for special assessments for special energy improvement projects, and affidavit, a plan for public improvements and articles of incorporation of the Tiffin Energy Special Improvement District, Incorporated, and declaring the necessity of acquiring, constructing, and improving certain public improvements described in the plan for public improvements in cooperation with the Tiffin Energy Special Improvement District, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of Resolution 25-27. Councilmember Dougherty. Oh, Councilmember Reesner, sorry. Apologies.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for immediate passage of Resolution 2025-27, suspending City Council's reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion for suspension of Council's three-reading rule and immediate passage of Resolution 25-27. Is there a second? Councilmember Horniman.
I'll second that motion, Madam President.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
This is just to approve the petition mentioned previously by the law director several times.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, we'll first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 6-0, and now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
and Herman.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 6-0. Now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Dougherty,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
and Herman.
Yes.
Resolution 25-27 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-25, introduced by Kyle Dougherty, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to take all actions necessary to grant an easement in the right-of-way adjacent to real property located at 806 West Market Street.
Thank you. This is the third reading of ordinance 25-25. Councilmember Dougherty.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for passage of ordinance number 25-25.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of ordinance 25-25. Is there a second? Councilmember Snee.
Second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, we will vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Dougherty,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
and Herman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-25 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-27, introduced by Kyle Dougherty, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to take all actions necessary to accept a donation of a post clock from the Rotary Club of Tiffin.
This is the third reading of ordinance 25-27. Councilmember Dougherty.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for passage of ordinance 25-27.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage for ordinance 25-27. Is there a second? Councilmember Hayes.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Dougherty.
Thank you, Madam President. This is given the city of Tiffin the donation from the Rotary for the centennial clock.
Yep. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right. We will now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Reesner,
Yes.
Snee,
Yes.
Dougherty,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
and Herman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-27 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-28, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2025 budget ordinance 24-94 to appropriate funds into the law director's budget and the street department budget.
Thank you. This is the third reading of ordinance 25-28. Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for passage of ordinance 2025-28.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of ordinance 25-28. Is there a second? Councilmember Jones.
I second that motion, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, we will vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-28 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-29, introduced by Kevin Reesner, an ordinance amending the 2025 budget ordinance 24-94 to appropriate funds into the annual budget.
Thank you. This is the second reading of ordinance 25-29.
Ordinance number 2025-32, introduced by John Hayes, an ordinance to amend section 141.01 of the codified ordinances to reduce the number of lieutenants of the police department.
Thank you. This is the second reading of ordinance 25-32.
Ordinance number 2025-33, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, recommend and execute a contract for the inflow reduction CSO 9-13 and 15 point repair project and declaring an emergency.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-33.
Ordinance number 2025-34, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, recommend and execute a contract for the South Sandusky Culvert Project, and authorizing the mayor to accept easements and take all actions necessary to acquire easement rights for the project.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 25-34.
Ordinance number 2025-35, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept easements for the widening of North Willow Court, accept easements for sewer facilities, and take all actions necessary to acquire those easement rights with private property owners on North Willow Court.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-35.
Ordinance number 2025-36, introduced by Kevin Reesner. An ordinance amending the 2025 budget ordinance 24-94 to appropriate funds into the Public Works Department Capital Equipment Fund.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-36.
Ordinance number 2025-37, introduced by Kyle Dougherty. An ordinance extending the designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, for downtown Tiffin.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-37.
Ordinance number 2025-38, introduced by Kevin Reesner. An ordinance amending the 2025 budget ordinance 24-94 to appropriate funds into the city administrator's budget.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 25-38. Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2025-38, suspending city council's reading rule.
Thank you. There is a motion for suspension of council's 3-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 25-38. Is there a second? Councilmember Hayes.
I second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
This one is for the 7,500 NOPEC grant. So that's going to add to that fund.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? All right. Seeing none, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Hardeman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Hardeman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-38 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-39, introduced by Cheyenne Thacker. An ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, recommend and execute a contract for the North Sandusky Street project, authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with a professional design firm for construction, administration, and inspection services for the project, and declaring an emergency.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-39.
Ordinance number 2025-40, introduced by Kyle Dougherty. An ordinance accepting the dedication of the street named Nelson Street, located in the 2nd Ward of the city of Tiffin, Ohio.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-40.
Ordinance number 2025-41, introduced by Kyle Dougherty. An ordinance to amend section 303.09 of the codified ordinances to change the limit on the amount of time a motor vehicle can be parked on private or public property stations and declaring an emergency.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-41. Councilmember Dougherty.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move for immediate passages of 25-41, suspending the city's 3-reading ruling and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. There's a motion for passage of ordinance 25-41, suspending council's 3-reading rule. Is there a second? Councilmember Reesner.
I'll second, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Dougherty.
Thank you, Madam President. This is to clean up just more of a housekeeping issue, to clean up our codified ordinances and also make sure that Tiffin Police Department's ticket language is correct.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, we will first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Hardeman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Hardeman.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Hardeman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-41 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-42, introduced by Kevin Reesner. An ordinance determining to proceed with the acquisition, installation, equipment, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Tiffin, Ohio, in cooperation with the Tiffin Energy Special Improvement District and declaring an emergency.
This is the first reading of ordinance 25-42. Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2025-42, suspending City Council's reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion to suspend council's 3 reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 25-42. Is there a second? Councilmember Jones.
I second that motion, Madam President.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
This is an ordinance determining to proceed with the acquisition, installation, equipment, and improvement of certain public improvements in the city of Tiffin in cooperation with the Tiffin Energy Special Improvement District.
Thank you. There's no other discussion. We'll first vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-42 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Ordinance number 2025-43, introduced by Kevin Reesner. An ordinance levying special assessments for the purpose of acquiring, installing, equipping, and improving certain public improvements in the city of Tiffin, Ohio, in cooperation with the Tiffin Energy Special Improvement District, approving an energy project cooperative agreement, and a special assessment agreement in connection with such improvements and special assessments, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is the first reading of ordinance 25-43. Councilmember Reesner.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for immediate passage of ordinance 2025-43, suspending City Council's reading rule.
Thank you. There's a motion to suspend council's 3 reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 25-43. Is there a second? Councilmember Herniman.
I'll second that motion, Madam President.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Reesner.
This regards the special levies, a special assessment previously mentioned by the law director. And the fund from the financing side will be added later.
Thank you. If there's no other discussion, we'll vote on the suspension.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Suspension passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Emergency passes with a vote of 6-0. We'll now vote on the passage.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Reesner.
Yes.
Snee.
Yes.
Dougherty.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
And Herniman.
Yes.
Ordinance 25-43 passes with a vote of 6-0.
And that concludes the legislation.
From the top. No, I'm just kidding.
Could you repeat those?
I wouldn't do
please,
that
for us?
to the audience. All right. Awesome. We are now under other business. Is there other business to come before council? Yes, Councilmember Reesner.
Just a quick question here. I just want to make sure this doesn't get missed. So under my finance committee meeting, we had to have the truck ordered by May 2nd. And I don't know, we read the 2025-36. Should have we suspended that potentially and to make that May 2nd deadline?
For which one? Of city administrator.
Thank you. So this morning, the Public Works Director said it was not immediately necessary to get that suspended. So we may wait till we can wait till the second meeting or the next meeting until the second reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yep.
One more here.
Yeah.
So we got the request for legislation from the finance directors for the finance committee here. Kyle and Aaron, they want to move the capital fixed asset from 5 to 10 and do some language changes to the policy. And if we want to have a meeting, or do we want to have them prepare legislation? Otherwise, what do you guys think?
as far as,
You want, we could have the meeting, or we could just prepare legislation based off the info in the packet here.
I'm in favor of just having prepared the legislation.
What about you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's, is that all right? We can just prepare the legislation for the policy? Okay.
Yeah, I can. Just to give you a quick background, you have, this is an update to the fixed asset policy, and it's in your codified ordinances that you've previously approved. So this is,
Okay.
I don't know, second or third time it's been done in the
Yeah, I
last
remember
10
going through
years.
this.
So, yeah, the legislation will write itself.
Okay.
So that's not a problem.
All right. Yeah, we could do that in lieu of a meeting then. That's fine.
Okay.
Councilmember Doherty.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to request a law and community planning meeting for April 28th, 2005 at City Hall Chambers at 5:15 p.m. to discuss mayor's request for legislation 25-27 and any other business that may come before us.
Well, I hope not 2005, right? 2025, right?
2025, I'm sorry.
Back to the future situation. Oh, my gosh. Okay, thank you.
All right, what time did you say?
5:15. Does that work with you, Mr. Snee?
That's great there, Councilman.
Anything else to come before council this evening? Law Director?
Yeah. Not quite 9 o'clock, but good job tonight. But I just wanted to say thank you to NOPEC. You guys kind of helped make this project happen, and do look forward to seeing what comes of the Gibson Hotel, and I hope it all comes to fruition. So, and thanks for sticking out with us so long tonight. Appreciate your coming here and sticking around the whole time.
No, yeah, I echo that. Yes, I'm sorry it was such a long meeting, but thank you guys for sticking around. Anything else before council this evening? All right. If nothing, we can adjourn. Thank you. Don't these types of requests have to come through to the mayor's office?